Hi witches! So today's video is going to be a little bit different. On my Instagram and on my Patreon, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, I post a lot of like witchy content and also fashion content there. I also have a TikTok and stuff, so where I post other witch content. So if you want to check out my links, they are in the description box. So on those avenues of social media, I had asked for some questions that people had, just like about witchcraft in general and anything that I could answer, because like I mean, I know a lot about witchcraft. I don't know a whole lot about anything else, but I know a lot about witchcraft. And I wanted to know what, I want to know if I could clear up anything for anybody in case people are like, so it's not so mysterious and it's a little bit more approachable, right? So I am sitting here with my wine, and I have a bunch of questions that y'all asked me. I am planning to do another one of these videos, so if you want to leave any questions in the comment section, I would be happy to answer those in the next one, which will be in like a couple months, I think, just so I can gather enough questions to answer. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna start with number one, and that is, how long have I known that I was a witch? And I think that really goes back to maybe like when I was like 10, like between 10 and 12, like that preteen kind of thing. I had a lot of issues understanding like the patriarchalness of the church. I just didn't really like that, and I felt like I wanted to connect with more of a like female energy. I just didn't really want that like patriarchal, like male energy in my spirituality. It just really freaked me out. So I actually, like, ironically enough, like found out about like Wicca through Scooby-Doo, because the Hex Girls, like that, I think it was like in the late 90s or like early 2000s, that movie Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost with the Hex Girls, very iconic goth icons, may I add. They were just like really cool, and I wanted to be just like them, and they were Wiccans, and I was like, oh, what's that? And then that kind of started me like actually understanding like what it meant to not be a Christian, to like be a witch, and like what that was. So that's kind of like my pivotal moment of like understand, like after reading about it, I think that's kind of where I knew like, oh, this is like the glass slipper, like this is what I want my spirituality to be, and I haven't looked back. So yeah. Number two is, what is my witchy goal outside of being a professional witch? So I think that's something I probably, that sounds like something I said. I do really want to be a professional witch. Like I want that to be my profession. And because I think that's just amazing, like resume witch, like, but in reality, I do really want to like own and operate like a witch store, like a brick and mortar store that's also like a ritual space, or like an event space where you can host like meditation courses or like yoga, like, I don't know, dance or something. I like theater. Like I just really want it to be like a cool space, but like also like a ritual space, like a place where, you know, weddings can happen, but like also a store where you can get like ethically sourced herbs and tools and like crystals, just so like you know, like if I'm running it, it's gonna be like top of the line, you know, ethical, green, sustainable stuff. So that's really what I want to do. I think that would be like top tier, like goals. The next question is actually two questions that I smushed together into one because they were both really similar, and that is, what is my favorite crystal? And the second part of that is, what is the best stone for magic and why is it obsidian? Which I agree with super hard. I really do love obsidian. I keep buying it and I can't stop. But in addition to obsidian, I actually really, really have like grown to love moonstone. Like I really love that specific gem, to the point that that's all I want to wear like in my jewelry and stuff now. So I've been like eyeing all these like really beautiful like silver and moonstone rings. It's just, but yeah, those are my two favorite, moonstone and obsidian for sure. So the next question is, what is my favorite herb or herbs to use in magic? And that would be rosemary, common sage, and then pansies. So rosemary is just really, really, really protective. I like to use that in like smoke cleansing bundles. I grow my own like common sage. Again, white sage is part of a closed practice, but you can grow common sage or get that like at any grocery store basically. Just stay away from the white sage. And that is just really cleansing and nice, and I like that how it goes together with rosemary. And then finally pansies, I like to use that a lot in my own magic because it reminds me of my mother, and it helps me kind of draw on that more female energy, that more feminine energy when I'm doing more like work with like my goddesses versus my gods. So my favorite type of magic to do, I really love candle magic. There's something about like fire that I just like, I find very alluring and cool. It's probably why I'm dating a fire sign. But I do really like candle magic, and it's probably the kind that I'm best at. I'm really terrible at sigils, and like even with divination, I'm spookily accurate with divination, but it takes me a second to like remember stuff. So I have to like reference my notes pretty frequently, like when I am reading. So have no shame in that. I don't have a great like short-term memory, but I did make flashcards. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to that and another question, I think, actually. But candle magic is really good for me, and I'm also really good at like wards and protective magic as well as like spell jars. So hit me up for your spell jars. Ha. What are some ways that I incorporate deity work into my everyday life or practice? So I have a couple ways that I'm doing it, especially in May, in the upcoming month. I'm talking about deity work on my channel for a whole month, so I plan on actually doing some sort of deity work every single day at the end of the day in May, just to like really get into the habit of it, because I do this thing where like I'll do something for like 5 days, and then on the 6th day I won't, and then on the 7th day I won't, and on the 8th day I just won't, and it continues like ad nauseum. So on in my daily life already, I do kind of like have like passive magic, I guess, working for me. I have 2 tattoos. I have one right here on my chest that is the triquetra, which is a tattoo that I got in honor of the Morrigan. So the idea of the tattoo is that like I am dedicating a physical part of my body to the god or goddess. So I have the triquetra on my chest for the Morrigan, and on the back I have a moon and an arrow with like deer horns on it, and that is for Hearn or Cernunnos, the horned god. So yeah, I have those in my daily life as like kind of a dedication to them and a promise. I do plan on getting tattoos for Anubis and Bastet very, very soon. I just don't know exactly what, because I don't want to do like very stereotypical symbols like the Ankh or whatever, because I want it to be different than that. And I want it to be personal to them. So the next question is, what is my favorite offering to give deities? And it really kind of just depends on the deity, to be honest with you. I know that's not a good answer, but it's true. I usually find like rocks and shiny like natural stuff for Hearn. So like any sort of like weird flower or like just a weird rock. I'm like, he would like this. He would appreciate this. The Morrigan I've found really likes like wine and libations, so like any sort of like red wine, which is also a favorite of mine, or like whiskey or something like that. She's very partial to that, as well as like jewelry and like silver, so I really associate that color with her. For Bast, she really likes incense, so I tend to give her that, incense and perfumes. And then Anubis is like really into like weird trinkets, so he has just like a collection of strange keys and like weird bottles that I've given him. So it kind of, again, like it depends on the god. The next question is, what is my strongest talent in witchcraft? And honestly, I'm such a dork, I don't really know. I am really scarily accurate when it comes to reading tarot cards, but like I said, like sometimes my brain like totally spaces out, but like it doesn't matter, the intention is there, you know what I mean? So I'm really good at like reading. I'm accurate with tarot cards. I am really good at candle magic, and I'm really good at making wards, so that's kind of where my talents lie. What is your best advice for mastering tarot? And I guess my answer to that is just like, don't panic about like not knowing all of the like meanings to everything. I am making myself like a set of flashcards to actually memorize all of them. That's like another one of my like mini goals for this year, because like I should know them by now. I've been reading tarot cards for a really long time, and I usually can get it pretty right, but like there's something in the back of my mind that's always just like, this isn't right, you don't know what you're talking about. So like I like compulsively have to check. It's annoying. So I'm trying to like commit everything to memory, hopefully by the end of the year. But yeah, and when it comes to like choosing a deck or anything, just pick something that you're drawn to and work with it. And one of my best suggestions is to sleep with it under your pillow for like 3 nights when you first get it, just to kind of align your guys' energy. My tarot deck, the second I saw it, I knew I couldn't leave the store without it. So I had to get it. Like that was it. So yeah, that's my best advice for picking tarot decks too, I guess, just like anything you're really, really drawn to. Someone asked, what is my favorite non-witchy item that I use for witchcraft? And I'm like looking behind the camera right now because I'm looking at it, but I have this really cool wicker table that my mom, she lived in the Philippines for a little bit in the 70s, which is very cool. And she like brought back a wicker table with her. She was like a kid, and it's been in like every single house that she's ever lived in, and like went with her to college and all of that. And then eventually she gave it to me, and it's totally beat up, but I digress. It was my first altar, and I now use it for housing plants and stuff, but I used it up until like I got this and like my other altar here. So I mean, I've been using that for the majority of my practice, and it's just very sentimental to me. It's really representative to me. It's just a table. It's just a wicker table, but it's very important to me and to my craft. So yeah. Somebody who I actually know in real life asked, how did I get so cool? And the answer is, I just stopped caring, to be honest with you. A lot of people, like, okay, not a lot, like 3 people in the last year have just been like, how do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. I just look like this. And you know, I understand that I put myself out there and I look kind of like a weirdo sometimes, but I just stopped caring. I just don't care what people think. And if they want to think I'm weird, that's fine. I just live and work and do my thing. So yeah. Someone wanted to know, and this was actually a comment on a video that I had earlier last week, when I talked about using cannabis in witchcraft. And this person asked, like, how does it affect my craft? So I briefly touched on it, I think, in my last video. If you guys don't know, I do have like a medical license for all of this, and a byproduct of my medical use for like very severe PTSD and like anxiety, like crippling anxiety, is that a byproduct of that is that it has really expanded my craft, right? In that I'm more easily able to like connect with my deities. I've had some very intense like meditation. I've been able to use it as offerings, especially to Bast. It's one of her like go-to herbs. Like that's something that she just particularly likes. I also have, like I said, was using it as a way to go to sleep, but would meditate before I went to sleep. So I like was able to have very vivid meditations. It's a lot more, I think there's just like a lot more flowing of information between me and the universe, if that makes any sense. So I think it's very expansive, and it if you can legally obtain it and you know, use responsibly, I think it can be a very integral part to your craft. But if it's not, that's okay. I mean, this is a very new topic for me, so or a new experience for me, because for 10 years I did not have access to this this medicine. So yeah, as a byproduct of like actual medical use, it has expanded my craft like quite a bit. So I'm very happy with that. The next question is, what do I use to cleanse my space? And I actually use, if I can get it out of here without knocking stuff over, I use Nag Champa incense. I really love the smell of this. I have not done enough research as to like what actually, if it's a plant or anything, but I just really like this kind of incense. I got this at like a metaphysical store a couple years ago, and I still have a bunch. So I just really love the smell of it, and it makes me very happy. So I like this. You can use incense, any sort of incense that you like. I also have some from Sea Witch Botanicals, which I thought was a local thing. It's not. But yeah, I will generally use incense. I think it's more of like a visual and like atmospheric thing for me. It just really makes the room feel cleansed. So if that's not your bag, you can always do one of the smoke-free cleansing methods that I talked about in an earlier video. So yeah. Do I keep a journal of spells? So kind of. I am so bad at writing things down, especially when I am in the middle of a ritual like state. I'm not really in the headspace to be like writing everything down. And then at the end, I'm kind of like exhausted, right? I also have like a little bit of PTSD about that kind of stuff because when I was first starting my craft, my parents found my like proto book of, it was beautiful. I had illustrated it. There were so many pictures in it. I loved it. It was great. But basically they like found it and like threw it all away and made me like read like passages from the Bible about like the Witch of Endor being like murdered by God for her crimes or whatever. So like I am hoping to have a new Book of Shadows for my birthday. So I'm hoping to go to the Renaissance Festival for my birthday because it's like right in the middle of like Renaissance Festival season. It's great. And I want to basically like backtrack to the beginning of all of these videos and like put in one, like make a page in the new Book of Shadows that I have, like one page per day for the entire year. So like every topic that I have will have a page, if that makes any sense. So like each video is one page. So I'll make my notes, I'll like decorate it. I kind of want to make it like a junk journal and like have a bunch of like cool stickers and stuff and just make it really beautiful. So that way, hopefully, like if I ever have a protege, I can just be like, here is this, take care of it, and like pass it on. That's a weird like fantasy that I have, but I think it would be very cool. Okay, so the next question is there a mistake you're happy that you made or that taught you a lot? And that is that I should have like read more books, especially when I was first starting. Now, I really did make an effort to like go to the library and read as many witchcraft books as I could get my hands on, but I lived in the middle of like suburbia. Like there was nothing like that. So it was hard to find like valid information. And then I would like sneak into Barnes and Noble or Borders books and like try to find all the metaphysical books and stuff. So I bought some, but like I didn't like read it enough. I still have them and I've been reading more books today, and now I think I have more ability to like suss out credible sources, which is great. So I'm now like catching up, and I've just been trying to buy like one book on witchcraft per month for like the entire year, and just like committing to reading it. But I wish I had done more of that like earlier on, and I feel like I would have had like more insight and more ability to like not have to look up correspondences all the time. But at the same time, I was always just constantly afraid that someone was going to throw away all of my stuff, so I didn't want to do that. I wish I read more. I didn't. I learned from it. I'm reading more now. Do I have a routine that I do in the morning or evening? Not really. I do work full time, so I tend to practice when the feeling like takes me, where I'm just like, yes, I'm doing witchcraft today. It's usually kind of like full moons and holidays, with some practice in between, especially on like new moons or like during certain moon phases, or if I'm just feeling some like doing some witchcraft. In May, I do want to make it like a goal to practice every single day to work with my deities. So hopefully that will change a little bit. So the next question is, if you are into cooking, are there certain recipes or spices that you like to use magically? The answer is yes. I bake so much bread. I love baking bread. It's magical and also a science experiment. It's amazing. So I think bread it's used in all of the in all the recipes that you could make for any sort of holiday. Bread is always involved in something. So bread is just very cool and integral to witchcraft. I also really like, I have a cookbook that was passed down to me from my grandmother, who's fine. She's not dead or anything. She just gave me a cookbook. That came out really weird. So it's called the Moosewood Cookbook, and it has like all of her notes and stuff in it. And there's just something really witchy about that, with her little like scribbled handwriting. And you know how like all like older people have kind of like that really like spidery handwriting? It's all of that. It's amazing. So, yeah, I really love that cookbook, and I tend to cook things out of there and like substitute in some like herbs depending on like what my intention is to those recipes. So the next question is, how is my snake doing? And the answer is, he's doing great. He is literally so fat, and he has quadrupled in size. He's enormous. I would totally show you what he looks like right now, but I fed him yesterday, and I like to give him like 24 to 48 hours before handling, just because, you know, I don't want him to get spooked or anything and then get sick. So he's doing really good, and I will hopefully have him in another video soon, I promise. He's just so good. He's so cute. There's lots of pictures of him on my Instagram in case you guys would like to see him. Is there anything, or do you have anything in your car? Like, I guess that is magical. And I do have like a little travel sachet, like a safe travels sachet in my glove box, but honestly, my car is a disaster zone. And I really actually need to like clean it out and cleanse it like energetically, like properly. So I kind of hope I can do that on Beltane. It's a disaster. I need to like get it washed and also like clean, like vacuumed. It's like not good, guys. Oh well. What kind of music do you like? I don't know if this means like just witchcraft in general, but like, or witchcraft, like for witchcraft or in general. Recently I've been on like kind of like a stoner metal, like classic rock kick. But for like magic purposes, I tend to like gravitate towards Mirker, and I don't know if that's how you say it. I'm really sorry. She's Scandinavian. And she makes some really great music. Her newest album Folk Song, came out last year during the pandemic, and it like really just got me through it. So I really like that album for witchcraft. And then Katie Ran, who it might be not pronounced like that either. I am so sorry, but I recently discovered her, and everything that she makes, I'm just like, yes. But also for magic, Lorena McKennitt is great. So this is a really deep dive, and I don't think anyone's gonna like understand what I'm talking about if you're not like 45 years old or older. But there used to be a show in the 80s on the BBC called Robin of Sherwood, and the soundtrack to that show is amazing. That whole show is amazing, and everything's great. So if you watch that, please talk to me, because I need to talk. This is like, I swear, we're the only family in America who has seen this, because no one else knows what I'm talking about. But if you understand, please talk to me. But anyways, that soundtrack is also really, really, really excellent. So yes. Podcast or book suggestions. I'm right now, I'm in the middle of reading Witchcraft for Healing, and I don't remember the author's name, but I'm going to link the book below, and I actually really do like that. It's a very like standard book of like witchcraft, and it has a lot of great like beginner tips. Some of it I'm kind of like, okay, but the spells in the back are pretty good. I think I talked about that in my coffin bookshelf video. So I ended up actually like kind of like going back and rereading it, and I do really, really like it. So yeah, I really recommend that one. That's what I'm currently reading. I'm hoping to get a book on Egyptian magic for next month, because it looks really cool. It's like ancient Egyptian magic for the modern witch, and that's just something I'm very interested in. So I'm going to be checking that out hopefully next month. Yeah. Okay, so the next question's was a little long, so I'm gonna kind of shorten it down and try to like explain it the best I can, because like I had to reread it a couple times, admittedly. But the question is, do you believe that magic is literally true or metaphorically true? So this answer is gonna get a little bit like woo-woo, ooky spooky, but basically I believe that like we live in an infinitely malleable reality. If you will something to happen, I do believe that it is possible to have something happen within the confines, within like the principles of like our reality. In that, as much as I will myself to be a blonde, like right now, like in the craft, that's not gonna happen. That's just not how that works. But if I will abundance to come to me freely, or for me to attain a certain level of happiness, and I actually do the work to attain that, I think that that's really what the core of magic comes down to. It's expressing your will on our malleable reality. So it's really about the belief in yourself, I think, as well as in the universe to... This is a very hard question to answer, in all honesty, and I feel like I'm kind of like going down this weird rabbit hole, so I'm going to try to cut it off now. But I think that like on a weird level, it's both. Like, I think that if you do magic to attain something, you are more likely to actually put forth efforts to make that a reality. So in that, it is metaphorically true and literally true. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. This answer was very confusing, and I'm sorry if that was not good enough. But anyways, we're gonna go on to another question that is a little bit different. Someone asked me what my best ghost story was, and I do have one that was really good. Like 3 years ago, I had just gotten back. I studied abroad for 6 months, and I had just gotten back home. I had 2 days to pack my shit, basically, and then I got kicked out. So I went to go live with my roommates, and I hadn't seen the house. Like, they settled everything, like they got everything sorted prior to me like being back on US soil. So I hadn't seen the house. I remember looking at pictures of the house and just being like creeped out, and like I had a nightmare about the house the next night. It was like really crazy. So anyways, I hadn't seen the house. I just had the address. My mom and I pack up all my stuff, and she like helps me move. And the key, like my roommates were both at work, so they like left a key under the mat for me, basically. And again, I'd never seen this house. I'd never been inside the house. I'd just seen pictures of it. I went to like go open the front door to like let ourselves in, and immediately like it's gonna be hard because I'm sitting down, but like went down as if to like stop a dog, and the only thing in my brain was stop, the dog's gonna get out, like you can't open the door like that. Now, I've never owned a dog. I've never had a dog. I had been living without animals for at least 6 months. And then also like when I was at college, it's not like I had a cat or anything. So I was like, oh, that's really weird. And like in my mind's eye, I saw the dog, like, and it was like a brown Cocker Spaniel. And in the meantime, my mom's like right behind me. And she does the same thing where she kind of like leans down, and she like looked at me. She was like, oh, that was weird. And I was like, yeah, that was weird. I thought a dog was there. And she looked at me. She goes, was it a brown Cocker Spaniel? And I looked at her and I was like, excuse me? So yeah, we both saw a ghost dog that lived in that house, and it was like really weird. It was like our weird little haunted house. It was our like forever best friend, and he was really great. So yeah, ghost story, ghost dog. I always have a hard time with protection. Other than the pentagram, what can I do? I always recommend a good home cleansing a couple times a month, maybe like once a week. Planting protective herbs in your garden is also a really great way to ward against evil from the outside. And any symbols or protective sigils that you make could be hung around your house, even if it's like on the back of a picture frame, incorporated into artwork or something like that. So the pentagram is super great. It's like the universal protection symbol, kind of like the cross is for Christians. I don't know why I did that. It's a real symbol, but like I guess I'm thinking like in terms of like the power of Christ compels you kind of thing. Same kind of deal with the pentagram. It's easier to like bury protective wards on the four corners of your property, as long as you know no one's going to be like obviously digging that stuff up, and you do have to dig down kind of deep, but you can also do that. You could do a land blessing where you give it an offering to the land and ask for protection. There's a lot of different methods, so I definitely recommend looking up earth magic if you live on a plot of land that you are like, if you have like a yard. If you're more like in an apartment or like a townhouse or something, there are different ways to do it, but like cleansing and putting up protective wards and stuff are going to be your best bet. And if you work with deities, any sort of like symbols that are associated with them, you can also put up, and that will be a protective ward. So yeah, I hope that helps. Do people who practice witchcraft also participate in the Wiccan religion? I want to know more about the intersection of witchcraft, spirituality, and religion. So all three things are like kind of different. Witchcraft is a practice. It's kind of like a sport or like a hobby, if that makes any sense. So it's something that you perform like certain acts or rites in order to enact change or impose your will. You can do this completely secularly. It doesn't have to be a spiritual thing. It usually is, and occasionally it's a religious thing too. Spirituality is something that is like completely unique to each person, in my opinion. I think that it could be going to church, like you could feel spirituality, like when you go to church, you could feel closer to the divine. It could be going out into nature. It could be practicing witchcraft. It could be doing, I don't know, some sort of art or dance or something that makes you feel close to the divine, right? And it's whatever really gives you a feeling of being in touch with the universe or the world around you. Not everyone's a spiritual person, and that's okay too. Religion is like a man-made thing, and it does sometimes intersect with spirituality and witchcraft, because the Wiccan religion is often a spiritual practice that uses witchcraft as an avenue of like practicing the religion. So like the religion dictates how you practice witchcraft, which affects your spirituality. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But like religion is an ideology that people adhere to in order to like assuage their desire for spirituality. So like for me, as an example, I practice witchcraft and I believe that that is what brings me my spirituality, but I don't participate in a set religion. My practice does not have like certain tenets or rules. It's just what feels right to me. So I feel like that's very common these days in witchcraft, because it's kind of like this like divorce, I guess, from the like mainstream religion, I guess, you know what I mean? Like where you have a regiment where you must go to church and you must do this and you must celebrate this in order to be spiritually saved. Like that doesn't necessarily exist in like non-religious witchcraft. So yeah, I hope that helps. I hope that answers your question. And then finally, the last question I got is, what was the history of witchcraft? And that is such a long answer. I can't answer it in this, so I'm going to make an entire different video or possibly video series on this. Maybe talk about some famous witches, do like a whole like history of witchcraft like series or something like that. But like witchcraft has been practiced since the dawn of time, basically. Like it's very, very, very old. So old, it's almost incomprehensible. So I do want to dive into that at a later point in the year. But that was the last question I have. Thank you guys so much for watching this super long video. I really appreciate it. I hope that answered all your questions. And if you have more, as always, feel free to leave them down below or inbox me, because I am always answering questions in my inbox. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.